Hey boys and girls, today is Saturday and today I did something special. My husband and I took a ride to the mountains and we picked out a Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree. And it got me thinking of a story that I used to love reading my own children when we would go to pick out our Christmas tree. And I thought that I would do one last read aloud this weekend for you guys. This story is called The Christmas Tree Ride. It doesn't have a lot of pictures on the cover. It's kind of plain. And let's see, this story is written by Mary Neville and it's illustrated by Megan Lloyd. I wonder if any of you have gone to pick out your own Christmas tree. The Christmas tree behind me is not a live one. It's not real. It's an artificial tree. It's not the one that I went to pick out today, but I wanted to read you this story. This story has some pictures on the inside of when my children were little when we went to get trees. But anyway, this is called The Christmas Tree Ride, and we know we go top to bottom, left to right. That's how the story goes. So let's see. Let me see how I can sit. This Christmas, Dad said, "Will you help me cut the tree?" He meant Shan and me. So we got in the car and we drove a long way out to the country, past the hot dog stands. "Let's stop," we said, but Dad drove on past the drive-ins and the gas stations. "Take a left," said the filling station man. I think this is a very old story because this looks like a long time ago. We were skimming along the snow ice road till it was really country, all frosty and snowy with silver ribbons floating up from the farm chimneys. Do you see the silver ribbons? That's the smoke coming out of the chimneys. And under the bridges were streams of ice. "I don't see any tree farms," Shan said. "We're getting there," said Dad. And then we started up a hill, and then another, and up a higher hill made of ice. I was the one to see the sign. Pennyman's Tree Farm, 1 mile. We found Mr. Pennyman, but his tree farm was up the road a piece. "These your kids?" he said as he climbed in our car with his ear-flap cap and his axe. "This road ain't the best. You afraid to tackle it?" "Afraid?" Shan and I looked at each other and Dad. Then we started on up. That road was steep. Look at that big hill. Like a hill made of glass. We got higher and higher. Far down below were the little houses and barns that we'd left behind. We kept on climbing, but our car went slower and slower and slower. Do you think they're going to make it to the top? "Over the top. Just made it," said Dad. "The Christmas tree farm," yelled Shan and I. There were Christmas trees all over everywhere. Little baby ones and great big ones and thin ones and fat ones. Now, it must be really cold at this Christmas tree farm because the trees are covered in snow. Where Miss Amy went today, there was no snow. Shan chased me into the trees and we gave each other a snow shower. You know how to do that? You pull down on the branches and the snow falls. It smelled spicy, piney green, and it felt snowy, icy cold. Mr. Pennyman walked around with his axe. "Say which one," he said. "This one," we said. "No, this one." "No, that big one over there." "How much does it cost?" Dad asked. "It cost a bundle," said Mr. Pennyman. We'll take a smaller one then." Crack! Mr. Pennyman hit our tree with a whack. Mr. Pennyman is cutting down the tree with an axe. Sometimes today they just use a chainsaw. That's what they used at our tree farm. And sometimes you can cut it yourself with a handsaw. If you look at this picture of Logan, we cut our tree ourselves with a handsaw. So there's different ways to cut it down. Let's see. Dad carried it over his shoulders and snow shook down. Then Dad, Mr. Pennyman, Shan, and I squeezed back into the car with our very own Christmas tree. You see it? That's a big tree. We started down the high hill. "Hey," said Mr. Pennyman, "you can't back this car down this hill." But Dad said, "There's no place to turn around without getting stuck. So we started down backwards. Do you see him? Down, down, down the ice hill. Faster, 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 faster. It was fun. Shan and I were laughing our heads off. Do you see him laughing in the back seat? Dad had his window open so he could see the road, and he was guiding the car like crazy, but he was real calm. Fence posts whizzed by, and the wind whipped in, cold and nice. Whee! Yelled Shan and I. Watch out! Shouted Mr. Pennyman. I don't think Mr. Pennyman thinks they can make it. We came to a stop. Whew! It was the bottom of the hill, and we were all right. Dad looked around and grinned. Mr. Pennyman took a deep breath. Whew, he said. I think he was nervous being in the car with Dad. It took a lot of pulling and hauling to get our tree into the living room. We trimmed it with paper chains, cranberry necklaces, and shiny glass balls. You see all the decorations? When you decorate a tree, that's called trimming the tree. Shan and I wrote a secret message for Mother and Dad on a tiny piece of paper. We folded it inside a perfect walnut shell and then tied the walnut halves together with a red ribbon and hung the walnut deep in the spicy greenness. If you look right there, Shan's got it in her hand. Knock, knock. Somebody was at our door. It was Christmas Eve. We stared, surprised. Who could it be? Oh, the pages are stuck. And there stood, whoops, I think I might. All right, we stared surprised. There stood Mr. Pennyman holding his ear flap cap. He said he was just going by and he thought he would stop for a minute. Come in, said Mother and Dad. Though Shan and I looked at each other, we were thinking the same thing. We often do. Didn't Mr. Pennyman have his own house and his own children and family to go to on Christmas Eve? We looked at the Christmas tree, all magic with lights. Then we sat down and talked. It turned out Mr. Pennyman did have a house, but he lived all alone. His wife had died and his children had grown up and moved away. Why don't you come back tomorrow too, Mother said, for Christmas dinner? And that's how after the presents on Christmas Day, there was another knock at the door. This time we knew who it was, and Shan and I let him in. He had an ear flap cap for Shan and an ear flap cap for me. Do you see the ear flap caps? They cover your ears up so your ears stay warm. You'll grow into them, he said. Then we took him to the tree. We'd hung a second walnut shell. Mr. Pennyman's fingers looked big as he took the shell apart and looked at the paper inside. It said, Merry Christmas, Mr. P. Christmas dinner was buttery hills of mashed potatoes and other good things. Christmas dinner's a lot like Thanksgiving dinner, lots of good foods. We ate a lot, and so did Mr. Pennyman and Mother and Dad. Shan and I had decided we liked making a new friend at Christmas time. And now we can go to Pennyman's tree farm and shake down snow anytime we want, but especially at Christmas. The end. All right, boys and girls, I would love it if you got to go on a Christmas tree ride and find your tree. If you would tell me, maybe have Mom and Dad send me a picture. And this will be my last read aloud, but I'm so excited because in just a few days we get to be back together on Monday. So I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.